When Shaquille O'Neal sat down with Angel Reese on her own podcast, the energy in the room shifted almost immediately. It was supposed to be a casual chat, emerging of two larger-than-life personalities in sports. Angel, known for her fierce play on the court and never backing down from a challenge, was visibly excited to share her space with Shaq, a living legend and icon. Yet it didn't take long for the vibe to swerve from friendly banter to a roasting session where Shaq, in typical Shaq fashion, managed to turn the heat up on Reese without a second thought. What was supposed to be a platform for Reese to share her thoughts and ideas became a stage for Shaq to crack jokes and, as he often does, unintentionally humble his host. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. In the world of sports, respect comes with accomplishment, and Reese had proven herself. From her record-breaking performances to the sheer intensity she brings to each game, she has rightfully earned her place in conversations with the greats. But Shaq is Shaq. His charisma, his booming laughter, and his ability to charm and overpower any conversation make him a unique presence. As the two began discussing everything from career highs to the pressures of the spotlight, Shaq couldn't resist injecting his own humorous critiques. With his laid-back style and larger-than-life personality, he playfully picked at Reese's achievements, offering a lighthearted, yet piercingly direct perspective that only someone like Shaq could deliver. Angel, who is usually quick with a comeback, found herself more on the receiving end than she might have expected. From the get-go, Shaq's jabs seemed to land harder than anticipated. He teased her about her stats, her style, even her signature confidence. It's part of Shaq's charm. He's relentless but somehow endearing in his bluntness. However, this time, his humor was tinged with an almost paternal critique that felt a bit too real. Reese, who is used to public scrutiny and thrives off a bit of controversy herself, seemed visibly taken aback. For every compliment Shaq threw her way, there was a dig not far behind, a balancing act that had Angel smiling but shifting in her seat. The admiration she had coming into this interview seemed slightly more tempered by the end, as Shaq's comments often felt like they were aimed at keeping her ego in check. The conversation hit a peak when Shaq compared his own early career hustle with the struggles today's players face. He talked about the grind, the sweat, the pain of making it to the top and staying there. Shaq has always been a workhorse, a man who prided himself on showing up and putting in the effort. So when he shifted the conversation to modern players and subtly hinted that Reese's generation might be leaning a little too much on fame and social media clout, it was a pointed remark that didn't go unnoticed. Reese, who has been part of the sports social media crossover, immediately felt the sting. Her face showed that she had expected a supportive nod from a sports elder, but instead, she found herself on the defensive, justifying her approach, her style, and the hustle she brings to the game. Shaq's unfiltered opinions are nothing new. Anyone who has followed his career knows he's never one to hold back. From calling out NBA players to trading barbs with Charles Barkley on air, Shaq speaks his mind, and his mind is as unfiltered as they come. This particular conversation, though, took that raw honesty to a new level. Shaq wasn't just challenging Reese. He was setting a bar, intentionally or not, and asking her if she really measured up. His demeanor shifted between playful and serious so seamlessly that it was almost hard to tell when he was kidding. But the undertone was clear. He wanted Reese to know that talent alone wasn't enough. The idea of earning it hit home when Shaq laid out his thoughts on legacy. He didn't say it directly, but the implication was there. Greatness demands consistency, dedication, and a work ethic that goes beyond the court. Angel, who has shown all these traits in spades, couldn't escape the feeling that Shaq was still sizing her up, seeing if she was made of the same grit and fire that made him a legend. Shaq's words had weight, especially when directed at a rising star. As much as she tried to smile it off, there was a flicker in Reese's eyes that showed Shaq's remarks had touched a nerve. Shaq, however, didn't pause. He kept rolling, pushing the conversation forward with his typical laid-back swagger. Reese attempted to match his energy, throwing in a few retorts and trying to shift the subject to more comfortable territory. But Shaq's presence was immovable, his jokes turning from lighthearted barbs to a sort of locker room challenge. In the world of sports, especially for someone as competitive as Reese, it wasn't a moment to back down. She tried to rally, to stand her ground and throw some of Shaq's own confidence back at him, but Shaq's quick wit and natural authority made it difficult. As the podcast continued, Reese's attempts to keep her composure became increasingly apparent. She laughed along, nodded, and even threw in a few jabs of her own. But the undercurrent of Shaq's teachable moments was clear. While Reese may have expected a camaraderie of shared experiences and mutual admiration, Shaq made it known that he wasn't just there to celebrate her. He was there to remind her of the bigger picture. At one point, he casually dropped a story about one of his hardest games, throwing in the kind of intense, battle-hardened details that made Reese and her audience sit up and take notice. It wasn't just a story. It was a challenge, a reminder that to earn legendary status, you need more than just confidence and skill. The energy reached a boiling point when Shaq humorously questioned Reese's signature moves. He leaned in, laughed, and told her she needed a real signature. Reese, usually known for her sharp comebacks, could only laugh nervously. She knew Shaq was teasing, but the subtle edge was there. His words were both a jab and a pep talk, a way of pushing her toward that elusive next level without outright saying it. Shaq, with his vast experience and storied career, seemed to be saying that she had potential, but he wasn't about to hand her a gold star. Reese was left balancing between respect and frustration, her usual confident grin tempered by Shaq's relentless critiques. As the interview began to wrap up, Shaq offered some final words that seemed to land with a weight beyond humor or criticism. He mentioned the importance of focus and staying true to the game. He didn't directly say it, but his message was clear. Fame, followers, and flash are temporary, but the grind, the real work, never stops. Reese listened intently, absorbing the moment, perhaps realizing that while Shaq's words stung, they were also words of encouragement in their own way. Shaq's intention wasn't to belittle. He was imparting wisdom, a sort of tough love wrapped in humor and, admittedly, a bit of Shaq-sized ego. The podcast episode ended on a note of mutual respect, albeit an uneasy one. Reese had stepped into that conversation expecting camaraderie, but left with a reminder of just how high the bar really is. Shaq, in his own way, had handed her a challenge, a reminder that greatness is a journey filled with criticism, self-reflection, and an unyielding work ethic. Reese's reaction was one of immediate resolve. While she may have felt the burn of Shaq's words, her competitive spirit seemed to be reignited. She left that conversation with a fire, ready to take Shaq's subtle critiques and turn them into fuel. Shaq walked away from the podcast unfazed, the way only Shaq can, with the swagger of a man who knows he's already achieved greatness and can afford to dish out advice without worrying about how it lands. For him, this was just another day, another chance to inspire or irritate the younger generation. For Reese, it was a reminder that the journey to becoming a legend comes with challenges, critiques, and moments that demand resilience. And if she was willing to listen, even through Shaq's jokes and jabs, she'd find there was wisdom hidden in his humor. Reese's fans, no doubt, had mixed reactions. Some saw Shaq's remarks as an unfair barrage against a young star who is still finding her way. Others saw it as a necessary reminder, a rite of passage that every sports icon must face. Angel Reese had officially crossed the threshold. She had been given a lesson, one that would either humble her or harden her resolve. As the episode made its rounds on social media, it sparked conversations, with fans and critics alike dissecting every word, every expression, every moment of Shaq's humbling advice. One thing was certain, Reese had been tested. The entire podcast was less an interview and more a test of her ability to handle critique, even when it was wrapped in humor and delivered by one of the biggest names in sports. The next time Reese steps onto the court, there's little doubt that Shaq's words will be echoing in her mind. Whether it makes her second-guess herself or drives her to new heights is a story yet to unfold. But in that moment, on her own podcast, with Shaq's booming laughter ringing in her ears, Angel Reese got a taste of what it means to carry the weight of expectation. The kind of expectation that comes not just from fans or teammates, but from legends. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.